Hey Stampers, welcome to Brandy's Cards. So how many of you have a stamp set that you've used once, maybe twice, and you've made a couple of cards and then you've put it aside because you can't find any other way to use it? Well, I'm excited. Today I have a card for you that I've designed using the open heart stamp set. I love this stamp set, love this little bird right here. So take a look. It's got some great sentiments and the cute little bird and the little fern over here. So I love this stamp set and I thought, you know what? How about I put myself to the test and I make 4 cards using this stamp set with the same 3 colors. That's right, the same 3 color cardstocks, and see what I can do and what I can come up with to share with you today. So that's what I did, is I used this stamp set. It is in the Stampin' Up! 2014-2015 annual catalog, and you're going to find it on page, let's see here, it is on page 119, yep, right there. It's on page 119 is where you'll find that. And just a cute little bird, cute little stamp set, and I'm excited to show you all the different things that I came up with it. Now I also pulled in a background stamp. You could use an embossing folder or maybe one of our background stamps. It's kind of a little bit of added texture. So today I'm going to use the hardwood background stamp. Now, I will point this out. Several of you have emailed me and said, okay, how do you get your Stampin' Up! Catalogs bound like that? That is fantastic. You're right. It is awesome. Love it. And you know why I like it? Because I can just fold it over and set it aside, and it helps me keep my mojo going. That's right. So then I can look and see what Stampin' Up! Is doing, all their fabulous ideas, and it's just really handy, and it's just great to use. All right, so let's get started with today's card. Here is the card. Yeah, do you guys like it? I absolutely loved it. I loved kind of the rustic kind of feeling with the bird and the hardwood. And then of course, you know, the fern here in the background and the little flower. So I'm excited to show you how I did this card. And so first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in some scrap paper. The 3 colors that I'm using today are, let me point those out. We have Soft Sky, and I have Crumb Cake and Early Espresso cardstock. And of course, Whisper White, the famous Whisper White is in there as well. But the 3 colors here are Early Espresso, Crumb Cake, and Soft Sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my Soft Sky in half. That's right, so I folded that cardstock in half. And here I've already mounted my hardwood stamp. I have Early Espresso ink. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink it up. I like to do it this way versus that way, okay? It's a lot easier to do. You could put a good firm pressure onto the stamp or the stamp pad to add that ink. And then what we're going to do is we are going to stamp this off. And the reason that I want to stamp it off is because I want it a little bit lighter, maybe a little more rustic looking. So I have a piece of scrap paper here. I'm just going to stamp it off one time, just like that. Then what I'm going to do is, again, I've got the Soft Sky. You could do it one of 2 ways. You could set your cardstock down and then you could stamp it on top, but I feel like I don't have as much control that way. So what I like to do is just set my stamp here in front of me, and I'm going to figure out where I want this to set. Push it down with my 2 fingers, set it down. We're going to put our scrap paper over the top and kind of give it a good rub, and then that will transfer the ink onto my cardstock. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you rub it really good so you get a good solid transfer. See, there you go. So this is exactly what I wanted. I didn't want a really dark image. I wanted something fairly light. So I'm going to set this aside. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to pull in my little sponge. This is one of our Stampin' Up! Sponges. It's a circular sponge, and I actually cut it in quarters. And the reason that I did that is because it's just easier to grab. Now I also have some clothespins that I usually kind of clip up on there, and it helps keep my fingertips from turning brown. So I do recommend it if you have some clothespins. It does help. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I love to what's called flicking. Well, that's what I call it anyway. I know it's really original. So what you're going to do is I just kind of want to add sort of that rustic edge, I suppose. And so what I'm doing is I am just flicking all around the edges of my cardstock. So I'm inking it up in early espresso, and then I'm just kind of going along the edges. And now remember, only the bottom portion of this card is actually showing, so you don't have to do the whole card unless, of course, you want to. Now you'll notice that it's pretty bright as far as like the blue goes in my brown or my espresso. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add it. I just want it to be a little more rustic, not quite as the soft sky, not quite as prominent. So I'm just going to kind of tap my sponge on here so it gives it a little bit of a kind of tones down that blue color. All right. So now we're going to set that aside. Let's move on to our next layer. I have an espresso piece here and a crumb cake. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little fern and I'm going to ink this up in early espresso as well. So we're going to ink that up really good. That's right. Now, if you are worried that there are no sizes and dimensions right here, please don't panic. Please visit brandyscards.com, and when you do, you should be able to find this card. Now, how do you find this card? Well, all you have to do is go into the top right corner. You're going to see the search bar. Type in there an open heart or open heart. You want to type in the name of the stamp set or type in their bird, and then this card should come up for you. And if you can't find it, and if all else fails, just send me an email, and I'll email you the link. That's not a problem at all, okay? So don't worry, all the sizes and dimensions for these cards will be available to you on Brandy's Cards. So I inked it up in espresso, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp it onto my crumb cake. So we're going to ink it up again and stamp it on the other side. Now that looks fantastic. Now you could ink it up again if you wanted to. If you wanted, if you wanted a few more of the ferns on here, you certainly can do that. I didn't mind it, just kind of one on each side, but I'll go ahead and put two, just for good measure. All right, so we'll set that down. So that's what that looks like. Now remember, we're going to cover this with the bird, so you don't have to worry about the center part. Now I have my Tombow glue, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue that down to my espresso piece. Now one thing I love about this card is it is just so fun. It's like so rustic looking and it's sophisticated, but it's super easy to do. And I'm excited to make this card my featured thank you note for the month of February. So if you've ordered from me in the past few couple weeks, you're going to be getting this card in the mail from me. So I really appreciate your business. Thank you so much. And I hope that you enjoy this card, and I hope that you find a stamp set if you don't have an open heart. Find one that works for you and substitute the image. And I think you'll enjoy getting that and having that sample. All right, so I just glued that down. That's it. Now what I'm going to do, let's see here. Let me look at the card. Is I have a piece of Whisper White. Now this piece of Whisper White cardstock, you're going to want to cut it bigger than, a little bit bigger, because if you want to tear it. You guys know that I love to tear paper, and why? Well, the reason why is because I just think it adds that fun look, that very chic look without having to do a lot of extra things. I don't really need to go get anything or buy any type of product to use it. So I'm going to add my Tombow glue to the back of my espresso, and I'm going to go ahead and just glue this right down here to the top, just like that. All right. Now the reason I'm going to do that first is because I'm going to use this line here at the bottom as my guide as I tear. All right, so I'm going to start tearing towards myself. You guys have seen me do this a number of times, and I love the kind of the rough, torn edge here. I like it to be really, just kind of really like to ruffle it up and make it look like I purposefully have done this, okay? All right, so there we go. Now what I've got, I've already cut all of my cardstock. I have thank you here. I'm going to ink up my thank you. Now I recommend that you stamp your sentiment or your greeting first. And the reason, before you glue down your pieces here, and the reason is I can't tell you how many times I've messed up and it was the perfect bird that I stamped, and then I went to glue it all down, or I had it all glued down, and then it was like, ah! So I just recommend that you stamp that first, and then you'll know, okay, I can safely move on, right? So, and that one turned out perfect. So we're good to go there. And let's stamp our bird. And now this piece that I have here is fairly small. And I wanted it small just for this card, but when you go to stamp it, it definitely kind of looks like, is it going to fit on there? And it does. You just have to kind of work with it. Remember, there's 2 sides to each piece of paper, or if you have to cut a new one, that's fine too. But there's your bird. So now let's start gluing things together. Before we do that though, we're going to kind of let him dry for a second, and let's pull back in our sponge, and we're just going to sponge all around the edge of our soft sky. Now the reason I'm doing that again is because it just adds that rustic feel, and it keeps things uniform with the rest of the card. You know, because the rest of the card has kind of got that outdoorsy feel to it. All right, so that's pretty easy. That's not hard at all. And we're gonna use our Tombow glue, and we're gonna glue this baby down right here to the top. There we go. And then we're gonna add our bird. And we are almost done with this card. That is what I love about Stampin' Up! Cardstocks and inks and all that good stuff, because it all like coordinates. You just have to, you know, get your mojo going, and or pull out your Stampin' Up! Catalog. There are so many fabulous cards in there, and just, you know, start playing a little bit. There is no right or wrong way, that's for sure. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals. I love these things, these little foam dots. They are fantastic. And sometimes I use a lot, which I probably don't need as many as I use, but you know, that's okay. All right, so there we go. There's my bird. I've got my Stampin' Dimensionals on here, and I'm going to add him right here in the center of my crumb cake piece. So once I make sure that everything is lined up, I've added him to the card, and he's turned out great. So let's take our Tombow glue. We're going to add our Tombow here to the back. We're going to glue this down to the front of the card. Let's see, one more time. Oh my gosh, I love how it comes together. I just love how it comes together. So there you go. Awesome. Now, quite honestly, I think this card is perfect just like this. But I thought we could take it a step further and just maybe kind of add a little bit of a finishing touch to it. And so I have our pretty petals, or petite petals, I should say, punch, all right? So I would punch out a couple of those. Now I went ahead and just pre-punched those just to make it easier. And I do have them right here. So what I would recommend is to kind of, because you know, this is going to be a very, you know, bright flower, because we've already sponged the other soft sky. So we're going to go ahead and sponge that just to kind of tone down that flower a little bit, because he's pretty blue. And then once we do that, we'll add that to our card, and we are all done. Well, we're not all done yet. We're close, I promise. All right, so I like to kind of fold my petals up. I didn't, you know, I mean, you could do all kinds of different things to kind of get your flower all, you know, fluffy and really, really pretty, but I just, I don't mind just kind of folding it upward. Now I just put a Stampin' Dimension, or a mini glue dot behind one of my petite petals, just so that I could adhere it to the other one. I'm going to use my, I think this is my 1/16. I'd have to look. Anyway, just for a brad, you're going to just punch a hole for your brad. I have got kind of a copper neutral brown, or actually this one actually looks espresso. You know, anything will really work. I even think a white brad would be great. So we're going to use our mini glue dot, and I'm going to stick it right here. Oh, that is perfect. Yes, see? I love this card. So a lot of you guys have emailed me and said, okay, Brandy, I really like your card, but you never finish the inside. Well, I do finish the inside sometimes, but it just kind of really depends on time and how things are going, okay? So how about we go ahead and, you know, exactly what do we want to do on the inside? Well, you could stamp the fern or the flower, and then you could stamp the bird, but, you know, maybe we're a little short on time, or, you know, or we just want to kind of keep it simple. So how about we stamp our bird right here on the inside? I've got some more of my little flowers over here. So let's just go ahead and let's just sponge a couple more flowers. you know, to kind of keep it all uniform, keep it all looking the same. Just let me sponge one more, because you know, I really like 2. 1 is great, but 2 is awesome. Trust me. So let's kind of bend up my petals. I have to bend up my petals, although this one's going on the inside of the card, but it still looks better, I think. And that's just my opinion. If it's kind of got some, you know, if it looks like it's kind of been worn a little bit. All right. So now we're going to punch a hole again here in the center. Now, if you don't want to use a brad and maybe you have a candy dot, you could use a candy dot instead. So just be creative. Of course, you could use, gosh, you could use just about anything. You could use a rhinestone. There's lots of different fun things you can play with. So we're going to add our mini glue dot, and I'm going to stick it right here. And I kind of liked it right behind my bird, just like that. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to glue this down in the inside of our card, and we are well on our way. And then I'm excited to show you how I would stamp my envelope. That's right, we're going to stamp an envelope too. So let me grab my envelope here. Let's see, where did I set my envelopes? There it is. All right, so on my envelope, what I'm going to do to kind of spice this up is I've got my Stampin' Mist and my Stampin' Scrub. Remember, on one side, and you choose, one side is the wet side, so you spray it, your Stampin' Mist, you clean your stamp, and then you're going to dry it on the other side. It works beautifully, but I always just stamp it just to make sure that it's clean. You don't want to, you know, mess up your stamp pads. All right, so now moving forward, if you have a soft sky stamp pad, you could use that, but it's pretty soft. So what I decided to do was kind of take it to the next color, and I grabbed, this is Pool Party. So I decided to grab maybe a little bit darker shade of blue, but one that was kind of in the same hue. So we've got our flower fern here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to show you how I would stamp my envelope. Now, I just think this is super cool. It just looks so pretty on this envelope, I have to tell you. Very, very pretty. And you know, just kind of move your stamp around. I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do this. You just want to, the idea is just to kind of cover the back of your envelope. All right, so there we go. Envelope is done. Perfect. And I inked it up one more time, and I'm going to stamp it right here, kind of along the front. Perfect. Love it. All right, I'm going to set that aside. And now we have to add our little bird back on here because he just matches so fabulously. Love him. Okay. And you know what I'm going to do now? Yes, you guys know. Yes, Brandy, you're going to sponge a couple more flowers. So I would sponge a couple more flowers. Now, the next question is if I stick a flower to the front of the envelope, will it go through the mail? No, probably not. So why am I going to do it? Well, you know, this would be an opportunity if you were going to hand deliver a gift to somebody, or, you know, you were going to give somebody a gift, or maybe you were going to include it inside of a package. That would be the time that you could really kind of embellish the envelope and really make it really fun and real pretty. But if you're going to put it into the mail, in the U.S. mail, I would not add a brad to the outside. But because I intend to give this as a gift, I'm going to go ahead and show you how pretty it is to add a little flower right here to the front of the envelope. Okay, guys, we are all done. Isn't that beautiful? I just think it turned out fantastic. And of course, take a look at the inside. It just works really, really well. And it's just a beautiful piece of stationery, and it all matches. All right, so now I promised you guys that I would show you how to do four different cards, right? So let me show you where I started. When I first started making this card, this is where I started. I left this bottom portion, you know, without the text or the hardwood stamp at the bottom, and I loved it. I thought it was great. And then I kind of added a little paper clip and some of our baker's twine here in the corner. And I thought it looked great, but I wanted to kind of spruce it up a little bit for you, and that's where I took it to the next level. All right, so take a look at this one. Yes, this one is fantastic. This one is the hardwood stamp only in early espresso. And then of course I did the bird, and then I added the soft sky, and I stamped my sentiment in the early espresso. Pretty cool, right? All right, so take a look at this one. This one's another real simple card, all the same products, soft sky in the background. You've got your crumb cake here. We stamped our flower just like we did on our first card. And then I just added the little bit of the torn paper and an early espresso accent. Just kind of add a little pop to it. Now this card I think is so cool. This is completely different. So I cleaned all my stamps and I decided to start over. And this is where I took this one. So this is actually stamped in Pool Party, and I loved how it looked like such a background. It was great. And then this is soft sky, and a soft sky flower as well. And then I just stamped my bird, and I just thought it was a really fun way to kind of add something a little bit different. So as you can see, this is actually 5 different cards that you could give somebody as a gift. All right, so I know we're running short on time. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put all of these cards together, and I'm going to show you a really quick idea on how to package these cards. Now, I'm not going to show you exactly how I scored everything right here, but it will be on brandyscards.com, so make sure you go and visit my post for Open Heart, an Open Heart. So this is a window sheet. We do sell these window sheets by Stampin' Up, and I'm going to take 4 cards. I've got 4 envelopes. Actually, I only have 2 here right now, but I would have 4 in here. And all I did is I cut my window sheet so that it would fit, so that my cards would fit in there, and then I had about 1/8 of an inch left over. And I will put all of this on Brandy's cards so you know exactly where the score lines are. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm kind of putting my cards in there. You can see there they are. They're in there. Perfect, right? And then what I did is I just cut a piece of early espresso cardstock, and I just kind of folded it around the edges. Now this is, this has all been done already. So again, I will share all of the sizes and dimensions, but I just folded it around, and I'm going to go ahead and stick it through here. There you go. And what I really liked, my idea was to have it so that my bird ended up in the same spot as my card, right? So it's kind of fun when they take the belly band off. Well, the bird is still there, and it all looks like it goes together. So I just thought that was really cool. Now the other thing that I have here is some, I think this is soft sky baker's twine, and you could take it. And I thought, somebody's going to ask me, well, aren't you afraid of those cards falling out on the sides? And I'm not, honestly, because it's pretty tight in there. But if you are, you could take some little baker's twine. You could take white, brown, whatever you have. I just happen to have some soft sky here from the spring catalog. That's right, from the Stampin' Up! Spring catalog. Speaking of the catalogs, if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Catalog and you are interested in one, or maybe a spring catalog, please let me know. Please visit Brandy's Cards and send me an email and request a catalog. I'd love to earn your business, answer any questions you have, and I'd be more than happy to send you one. I really, really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to help you. But if you have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, please be sure to ask your demonstrator for a catalog. All right, so there you go. You can see I added my little twine on there, and I just think it looks fabulous. Now, one other thing that I would like to kind of show you is if you wanted to really tailor this stamp set and make it your own, you could take the Better Than Email new stamp set. It's a new photopolymer stamp set, and you could stamp one of these little sentiments, which I think these are all fantastic. This is brand new stamp set, and you could have a little tag that's hanging down. And here's a couple of my favorites. Inspired to create and share with you, or sharing creativity and inspiration one card at a time. I mean, how awesome is that? The one that I liked was that I stamped for this card, and I don't see it here right now, so I apologize. But it is called Handmade and Heartfelt. And I just thought it was beautiful. Let me look one more time and see if I stuck it over here somewhere. You know what? Here's the stamp. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like, and then you guys can decide if you want to make it a tag or if you want to put it on the back. So I've already mounted it. I have a little piece of paper here. I've got real red because there's a heart in this stamp. So I'm just going to color on my photopolymer stamp. You can color on them just like you can color on the clear mount or the wood mount stamps. That's right. So that's no problem there. And be sure that when you color on your stamps that you're using the Stampin' Write markers. You don't want to color on your stamps with your blendabilities, okay, because those are alcohol markers. You want your water-based markers, your Stampin' Write markers for this. All right, so I'm just about done. I'm going to just stamp this real quick. It is a photopolymer stamp, so I do recommend a little mat. And I'm just going to stamp that straight down, straight up. Oh my goodness, is that not super cute or what? Handmade and heartfelt. So maybe I don't have a punch or a way to punch that out. Well, that's okay. I mean, wouldn't that just look beautiful right there? Just right there in the back. So when, you know, the recipient turns it over and they're like, oh, that's really cute. So anyway, this is today's project. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you don't think that you can make 4 or 5 cards using one stamp set, well, you can. And I hope that I showed you that here today. I hope that you give it a try. Of course, if you have any questions, any comments, I'd love to hear what you guys think or which card you like the best. And of course, I will have all of the instructions, the sizes, and the dimensions on brandyscards.com. So I hope that you stop by and visit me. And I really appreciate all of your support and all of your friendships. And I hope that you guys have a blessed day.